Hello, my crafty friends, and thanks so much for joining me today. I have a fun project to share with you. My card is for a birthday, and I used the billboard pop-up style that Karen Berniston showed earlier this month for our designer challenge. I made this adorable bunny popping out of my card on the surprise ball pop-up. I used supplies that most of us already have in our stash, so let's get started. Since this finished bunny is rather large, I decided on a 6x6 card. I began with the 12x6 piece of cardstock scored in the center. I've already added my panel, which is 5 3/4 inch square, and I have punched the hole where I want to place my pop-up ball. If you've made this card before, you may notice that the hole is not directly in the center of the card. It is in the center horizontally, but it's more towards the top, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. I've already assembled my ball pop-up. I'm not going to show that in this video because Karen has an excellent assembly video, which I will link below. I will also link one of my previous videos where I showed the assembly. When the card is in the closed position, I wanted one of the seams to be lined up with the crease of the card. And since it's placed a little higher in the card, that leaves more room for the bunny. I need to open the brad now and place the ball inside the card. I'll do that by placing the brad through the hole in the card, turning it over, and opening the brad back up. That will secure it. The card can now be set aside while we work on the bunny. I began with one of the fitted hearts from Elizabeth Craft Designs and turned it upside down. Next comes 2 ovals from the oval crosshatch die set, and then 2 ovals in pink. For the nose, I cut out a pink heart from the Heart Charm set. It has little stitching around the edge. Now we can see a plan beginning to come together. Next, I want to make a mark under the nose, just about in the center. This way I'll know where to place my whiskers. I've added some foam dots under the nose. For the whiskers, I simply used my paper trimmer, trimmed 3 very thin strips, and then I colored them a light shade of gray using a Copic marker. It's very light shade. I used N3. For the eyes, I cut out 2 pink circles using one of the accessory dies that's in the surprise ball pop-up, and then put some googly eyes on. No bunny is complete without the teeth. For that, I used a strip of cardstock that is 1 1/4 inches wide and 1 1/2 inches long, scored down the center. And then I just cut off a little corner of the folded edge near the bottom. Before I start the assembly on my bunny, I want to do some edging, and for that I used a little bit of ink and an ink blender. I want to ink all around the pink parts. These little details can make a big difference on your project, and sometimes it's easy to forget them. That's why I like to do mine all at once before I start adding any glue. In addition to the pink parts, I want to put a little bit of edging around the face of the bunny. That way, when I put the teeth on, the little cheeks are going to show up. I'm just going to finish off the edging on the eyes, and then we'll be ready to go. Now it's time for the gluing, and I'm going to begin with the ears by placing the pink section inside the white panel. And I'm going to place them more towards the top. You'll see why in a little bit. Using the same process, I'm going to do both ears. Now it's time for those pesky whiskers. I'm going to start with a little dot of glue on the mark that we made that goes under the nose. I'm going to put 1 set of whiskers, or 1 strip of whiskers, straight across with the dot of glue sort of in the center. It doesn't have to be precise. Then I'm going to put another dot of glue on top of that and add the next whisker. And then 1 more time. Now it's time for the nose. I'm going to take the release sheet off the back of the foam squares and place the nose over the whiskers. That's why it's important to put them the foam squares on the top and bottom so that that space in between will straddle where the whisker bump is. Now it's beginning to look just like a bunny. The teeth are ready to go, so I'm just going to add some glue to the top and put them in place. The ears are next, but before I glue them on, I'm going to take them over to my score board and make a little alteration. I've made a little score mark at the top of each ear, about 1.5 inches long. Now I'm going to crease both of them to make them appear pointed, even though they are ovals. I've creased both of them only where the crease mark is. Now I'm going to add them to the bunny. You may notice that I'm using quite a bit of glue. That's because I'm using pearlized paper and it has a rather slick finish to it. Also, by using glue here, you can adjust the ears. It would be quite easy to make this into a little mouse simply by changing the shape of the ears to a circle. To finish this little guy off, the eyes are next. I like to place mine just above those bumps on the heart nose. I'm taking my time here to get them spaced correctly before I glue them on. Now it's time to add this cute little guy to our card. To do that, I flattened the ball down and then added glue to one complete section. Now I'm going to simply take the bunny and line it up over that glue panel. Now you'll see why it's important to have the ball a little bit further back in the card. I lined his teeth up with the panel inside the card so that I could get him straight. There's still a little time for adjustment. Press him down. Make sure that he fits in the card okay. Okay, there he is. Couldn't be any cuter. Next it's time for a little whisker trim. I'm going to push him down in the card, close the top, and trim off the whiskers that are sticking out of each side. I'm happy with the results, but I didn't like the way he wiggled around inside the card, so I did put some glue underneath the base of the ball. You might want to do that at step 1 instead of the last part. I cut out one of the hexagon shapes from the die set to cover that hole in the top. Once that's glued in place, he's ready to go. To keep my card closed, I decided on a belly band. I cut 2 strips of paper 1.5 inches wide, and I'm going to blade it on the front and wrap it gently around the corners. You don't want to get it too tight or it's not going to slide on and off. With the folds already marked, I'm simply going to flatten down the one piece, and I've trimmed off a small section to add to that. Since my card is 6 by 6, a piece of 12-inch paper isn't going to fit all the way around. With that done, I'm going to test it out, sliding it on my card easily, pushing it down. That's just what I was looking for. With the belly band all done, I'm going to add a previously stamped panel that I made using the circle crosshatch die set. I pasted glue in the center so I could get it where I wanted it and then glued down the edges. This way everything will stay in place as you slide it on and off. Now the bunny pops up as soon as you remove the belly band. To finish this card off, I made a happy birthday panel using the rectangle crosshatch and the happy birthday die. On the back, I've added a square crosshatch panel so I can write my message, and it covers up that unsightly brad. I've listed the products that I've used below. I've also listed my blog where you will find links to everything I've used today. I hope that you've enjoyed today's project, and if you did, I'd really appreciate a thumbs up. I also wouldn't mind if you wanted to subscribe to my channel. Until next time, happy crafting and thanks for watching.